be about 15 minutes drive each way, and we'll spend between 20 to 30 minutes out on the glacier. Just a couple of safety things before we take off here, starting with our emergency exits. There are a couple different ones on board, starting with our roof latches, and those are just up in the middle of the bus there. I'm sorry, I'm too loud. And to get out that way, all you gotta do is pull on the red tabs and push up with 2 hands. 4 emergency exit windows, 2 on each side, all marked with those emergency exit only stickers. They'll have little metal tabs at the bottom that you'll pull out and push out with 2 hands. There's also a driver door here, and the exit that all of us will be using today is the retractable stairs. They work just fine, and this is the only one we'll be using. Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Quebec. A couple people from Quebec. Actually, the first people from Quebec ever on my tour, so bienvenue. Welcome, everyone. Where's everyone else from? United States. Where in the U.S.? New Jersey, okay. Illinois, very nice. Well, welcome north of the border. I'll be honest here, I am looking for an American passport, so if you're single and want to tie the knots, you know, that's all. I'll leave it at that. And that leads me to my most asked question. They usually go like this: Evan, are you single? I'll be honest, I am not single. But my girlfriend has given me the green light if I can secure a passport to somewhere warm. So, with that being said, if that interests you, come and chat with me after the tour, okay? Now, how many of you folks have been out on the glacier before? By show of hands. Okay, a couple hands here. Couple keeners here going for glacier number 2 or 3. That's very cool. But for those of you who haven't been out, and I guess those of you who are returning as well, I hope you're all real excited. I'm excited for you guys too. It was actually just raining about an hour and a half ago. I was standing outside at the turnaround point and there's so much hail, I was just getting slapped in the face by it. But it seems like you guys brought the good weather back, so thank you very much for that. I really appreciate it. I was dreading going back out in the rain and the hail again. So we'll kick our tour off by chatting a little bit about the ice that you guys will be walking and I'll be driving out on. And this ice is a little bit different than the ice that you get out of your freezer. It's a lot denser. So the ice that we have here is about 80 or 90% water and 10 or 20% air. Meanwhile, your freezer ice is more of a 50-50. And due to that reason, it's a lot more dense, as I was saying, and as well, it creates an interesting looking color on it, which is that amazing looking blue color. That blue color is caused because since it's so dense, it kind of acts like a selective prism. And it'll only let the blue light, which is the shorter wavelengths of light, escape. Which I think is pretty neat. And all this ice was made about 90,000 years ago during the last ice age. So we haven't really had a whole lot of formation of new ice since, because this process called fernification takes about 5 years and it's quite tedious. You need at least 50 or more meters of snow to be in the same spot for 5 consecutive years. And I don't think anywhere on planet Earth gets that anymore, simply due to climate change. So that's why I'd say about 98% of the world's glaciers are in a recession or at a standstill. In just a sec out the front here, everyone will be able to get a nice clear look at our Athabasca Glacier, and that's the glacier that we'll be walking out on today. A little bit confusing, I know. The whole operation here is called the Columbia Icefield, but that ice field is actually the massive plain of ice that fed a lot of the glaciers around here. So this entire sheet here, as well as those stairs or the steps out the front there, kind of hard to see. I'll point it out again in a little bit. All part of the Athabasca Glacier, but if you were to climb up those steps to that massive expanse up there, it would be about 165 square kilometers of ice, which is about anywhere between 86 to 92 square miles of ice. So that's about ice as far as the eye can see. Quite incredible. Those steps I was talking about just out the front windows now. I'll chat about it a little bit more as we get closer. Now some of you folks may be wondering what we're driving on right here. This is what's known as a lateral moraine. So moraine is a French word. French being the language of love, so it must mean something romantic, right? It means a pile of rock and dirt. Yeah, kind of disappointing. And these lateral moraines are actually rock and dirt that have been pushed up onto the sides of the valley here by the glacier. So it can actually give us an accurate representation on the minimum height of the glacier back when it was at its peak size. So if you look out on the left at all these moraines here, as well as on the right, all the way across the valley, you can make the assumption that the glacier went 3/4 of the way up the mountain, which is quite impressive, and just 200 years later it's already down here. Some of you folks may be a little bit nervous too, because the road in front of you is disappearing. We're actually going to be going down the steepest commercial non-paved road in all of North America. Bet that wasn't on the brochure. So this is about a 20-degree, if you were to use like a protractor. I had to remember what that word was today because it's been a while since I was in grade 5 or 6. But a protractor, about 20 degrees downhill, quite steep. I have a bunch of different safety features here to keep us going down nice and smooth, though. I have an auto braking system. So if I go over 10 kilometers an hour, it will shut this bus down, instantly lock it up, and then I'll look like a fool because I have to radio for help. I also have a transmission lock up here that'll get us going down in first gear. That way we're nice and slow, and it will also keep us from shifting out of gear. I have a transmission retarder as well here that will make us go even slower if I want to, as well as my massive brain with a huge IQ. That'll get us down nice and safely. That last one was kind of a joke. Just kind of. Are you guys ready for the world's slowest roller coaster? Woo! Don't worry, I'll keep my hands on the wheel for the rest of the way down. But yeah, we'll be crawling at a snail's pace here, anywhere between 2 to 5 kilometers an hour. As I mentioned, we do not want to be going too fast down here. So this road will actually change every single year, and we have to completely redo the road from scratch about every 5 years. Simply because the ice moves all of this moraine and rock and dirt, causing us to need to repave and redo this road here. Actually, at the start of the season, the grade of this steep hill was actually double, so it's around 40 degrees. That is absolutely ridiculous, and you could not pay me enough to drive down that. So we have a grading team that'll come and like flatten it all out and make sure there's enough traction on it and everything. And they're the ones who are responsible for making that road good to go. It's quite the operation that goes on here. And everything is covered by a fine tooth comb. Struggling with that one a little bit. Out the left-hand side here, you guys will see a couple different lakes. That closest one at the foot of the glacier here actually popped up in the last 50 years. Still doesn't have a name, so maybe if you guys leave a review today on TripAdvisor or Google, I think Lake Evan has a nice ring to it. What do you think? I always wanted a lake to be named after me. And that way you guys can help leave your mark on history too, right? Now all these moraines that you see here, especially the ones that are up on the left-hand side, some of them are absolutely massive. These are what we call freestanding moraines. So the glacier would have pushed them all the way up when it was at its maximum size and out to the sides. But ever since then, these moraines have been freestanding and are kind of unstable. So a lot of them will topple down. We'll have one big landslide a year, but thankfully none of it comes anywhere close to the road. So we are all good to go. So for all of you folks who said you'd never been out on a glacier before, you can officially check that off the list. I know it does not look like it right now, but underneath about 2 meters of rock underneath us here is about 150 meters of ice. This is what's known as an ice-cored moraine. So that word moraine there, pile of dirt and rock. Some of those freestanding moraines that were on the left hundreds of years ago toppled down on this region of ice, and ever since has been acting like an insulating blanket. So you may notice we're up a lot higher than the ice you see on the right-hand side, and that is simply because this moraine here and all this rock and dirt has been keeping it nice and cool for us. You betcha. So just out the front and a little bit out the left here, those ice steps that I was talking about are coming into view again. Once again, at the top of those ice steps, that's where the ice field begins. So this is the Athabasca Glacier. You guys will also be able to see two more glaciers while you're out there. And these are independent glaciers, and one of them is an independent hanging glacier, which means it kind of hangs over a cliffside. But I'll point those out in just a sec, because only one of them is kind of visible right now. But I'll name the mountain peaks that are just to the left of us. The one that's about 90 degrees out the left here, and is quite massive. That is Athabasca Mountain. The one to the right of that, those two peaks actually are the same mountain. And that mountain there is Mount Andromeda, which was derived from Greek mythology, named after the wife of Perseus, if any of you guys are big on that kind of thing. And as you can see out the front of the bus here, we're about to go for a little bit of a dip. I hope you guys brought your bathing suits, and there are life jackets under your seat. I saw a couple of you looking down, bunch of suckers. This is actually our tire wash area. We'll be driving through nice and slow to clean a bunch of that mud and dirt off of our tires. And the reason we're doing that is so that we can negate something called the albedo effect. So in short, it's like wearing a black t-shirt on a hot sunny day. You're going to sweat way more than the guy wearing a white t-shirt. The snow almost acts like a mirror and reflects up a lot of that heat and those sun rays back into the atmosphere. Meanwhile, if we start trekking up a bunch of dirt and mud onto the glacier, it negates that effect, and it will start melting at a quicker rate. Pardon? So this is all natural water. We kind of just make a couple channels so that it flows into there, but that's a lot of snow melt and ice melt as well. That's not the water you want to be drinking. All the water with snow melt in it will probably make you pretty sick and give you the runs. Alright, those two glaciers I was talking about are now officially in view out the left-hand side. So on the right side of Athabasca Mountain there, that is Double A Glacier, or AA Glacier. It's next to Athabasca and Andromeda. That's why I was given that name. And that one is an independent glacier. And further to the right, between those two peaks of Mount Andromeda, is Andromeda Glacier. And on the right here, you see some brave adventurers. Give them a wave. Not a great idea to be walking out on the ice like that without a tour guide or any equipment or anything, simply because there are many crevasses and mill wells around here. So that wave there might have been the last wave they ever get in that ice terms. Around here we tend to call that natural selection, survival of the fittest. So a couple rules that I'll start rattling off before I let you folks off the bus. That kind of ties into me making fun of those two hikers. I want you guys staying inside the boundary area. So if you look on the right and left hand side, so you'll see two little runoff water ditches here. Any ditches that you see around here, I want you to stay on the inside of. I don't want you guys going up onto the elevated areas because, as I mentioned, crevasses and mill wells. Even if you guys fell in one and you are still accessible, I would not be able or allowed to walk out there to get you guys, simply because all of the rescues are done by Parks Canada, which is a region of the federal government. So you can expect 3 to 5 business days before they go down there to get you. In addition to that, if you look at the back of these buses here, it is a nightmare to see out the back of the buses. So please don't go anywhere behind the buses, even across on the far right-hand side there. I just had pancakes for breakfast this morning, and I do not feel like making any more, if you know what I'm talking about. As well, it's not a great idea to climb in and around the wheels. I know it's kind of common sense, but I cannot see you guys if you're underneath the bus or behind the bus. So just stay to the front side of the bus at all times, please. Other than staying inside the boundaries and staying at the front of the bus there, I would very much like for everyone to be back on the bus here at 5:15. So that's a whole 25 minutes that you guys will get out here on the glacier. That's not bad at all. So we are the Caribou bus. You see that sticker in the top right-hand corner there? There's an identical sticker that will be on the door here, and I'll run around trying to round you guys up. 5:15, I am leaving. I do not do a head count. If you're on the bus, you're on the bus. If not, you'll have to wait for the next bus with space. which could be till tomorrow at this point. It's getting pretty late in the day. So make sure you're on board. Check your watch. 25 minutes from now, 5:15. I know you guys are probably tired of hearing my voice at this point, because I certainly am, but there's just one more rule before you guys get off the bus here. There's a little bit of yellow snow around here. Don't eat the yellow snow. That is really, really gross. It is not lemonade flavor, I'll tell you that. Alright, if anyone has questions, you can ask me them on the way down. I also like playing personal photographer, so everyone have fun out there, and if I can help you in any way, I will do it, okay?